What if the key to your best ideas requires you infiltrating your own mind just like a Trojan horse? Around 3000 years ago, the Greeks had a problem. They had been laying siege to the city of Troy for around 10 years. And despite their best efforts, they could not break into it. The city seemed impenetrable. Every direct assault failed. Every strategy crumbled against the towering defenses. The Greeks seemed to be stuck. Brute force just wasn't working. And it seemed that with each day, breaching Troy was becoming an impossible mission. And so they had to try something different. Odysseus, one of the most famed Greek generals, devised a plan. They would build a massive wooden horse to be presented as a gift. At that time, it was common to offer gifts as tribute to end wars as a signal of peace. Now, as part of the plan, they dismantled their camps and pretended to sail away, selling the idea that they had given up completely. To the Trojans, it appeared that the Greeks had finally admitted defeat, thinking that they had won, brought the gifts inside their impenetrable walls. And that night, while Troy was celebrating their victory and let their guard down, the hidden Greek soldiers that were hidden inside the horse killed the Trojan sentinels so that they could not alert the army and opened the gates for their own army that had not in fact sailed away but was simply hiding and waiting for a signal. And so, after 10 years, Troy would fall in a single night. Not through sheer blunt force or size, but through cunning and deceit. Till this day, the story of a Trojan horse, be it myth or reality, has left its mark on humanity, as one of our best examples of the power of taking an unconventional approach and avoiding direct conflict, also as a warning for overconfidence. It has left its mark on anything from malware to chess, where the term Greek sacrifice refers to a sacrifice play to induce your enemy into a false sense of security. And so this leads me to the whole point behind this video. You're probably wondering, what does a Trojan horse story have to do with coming up with better ideas? But as we will see, just like Troy had built massive walls to protect themselves, so has our brain built walls. These very walls can be the thing that's blocking access to one of the best tools that we have in terms of producing creative thought and breakthrough thinking. And that's boredom. If we try to break it through blunt force, like the Greeks did for 10 years, we will get nowhere. We must instead adopt a Trojan horse type strategy. We must Trojan horse boredom into our life. But before we do that, we have to understand just how and why boredom is so important and effective in helping with our breakthrough thinking and our creative pursuits. And I think one of the best ways to do that is by relating it to an activity that most of us can understand and have done in the past. It is only ideas gained from walking that have any worth. I have walked myself into my best thoughts. When several of the greatest thinkers of humanity share a common idea, it's because there's probably a hidden principle behind it. Walking is certainly a valuable activity from a physical health perspective. But what is it about walks that leads to better ideas and thoughts? Now, there are several factors at play. Research, in fact, shows us that brain health and function is improved with movement. But what I believe to be the most important aspect of walks isn't even directly related to walks themselves. I believe that it's the downtime that it forces upon us, especially if you go for a walk without anything else, if you're not listening to music or to a podcast or scrolling to your phone. If you are just walking, it is a very automatic activity. Your brain can do it on autopilot without any conscious effort. And this allows your unconscious mind to step into the light. It's usually on the background, and it's only with very few activities that it's actually allowed to take control. Walking being one of them. The best ideas I generate, for example, whether for business or for content, always come from doing nothing. And by doing nothing, I'm referring to any activity that doesn't require my conscious effort to be completed. Any activity that allows my brain to wander off. Things like taking a shower, brushing my teeth, or waking up from a nap, which, by the way, is how the idea for this video came about. All of these activities usually bore me. They aren't mentally engaging, which seems to be the underlying factor for allowing our unconscious mind to do its thing. But why is this even important? And why is our unconscious mind so much better than our conscious mind at coming up with new ideas and seemingly solving very complex problems that we could never do it through our own conscious effort? And now this is where we must talk about unconscious thought theory, created by a psychologist, which name I won't even dare say, so I'll just place it over here. It's clear that ideas that come to us from the state of boredom appear without our effort, knowledge, or consent. This can only mean that they come from the subconscious. To illustrate this, Dr. App devised a study. Participants were divided into 3 groups: those who made immediate decisions after seeing information, those given 4 minutes to consciously deliberate, and those who spent 4 minutes on a distracting task, like solving anagrams, that prevented conscious thinking about the choice. For simple decisions, conscious deliberation worked best, as expected. However, for more complex decisions that involved many factors, the distraction group, who couldn't consciously analyze their options, consistently made better choices than those who carefully deliberated. The distracted participants were 15 to 25% more likely to make an objectively better decision than the conscious effort group. These findings form the foundation of unconscious thought theory, which suggests that the unconscious cognitive processes are better equipped to integrate large amounts of complex information than conscious deliberation. This ability makes the unconscious mind superior at generating creative ideas and solving complex problems. Its ability to process and connect information is simply far greater than the one of the conscious mind. This line of research indicates that by providing enough time for your conscious mind to rest, you are then enabling your unconscious mind. Cultivating boredom, the shutdown of the conscious mind, can seem like a lazy and downright bad idea if you have always operated from the mindset that more work is always better and that any downtime is wasted time. But if this is what you're thinking, then you still haven't understood. Think of it as neurological delegation. Putting in place boredom habits that force you to disconnect isn't reducing the amount of productive work or thinking that you are doing. It's simply diversifying the type of work that you are doing. You are effectively delegating work to the best employee that ever was. His payment is literally nothing. He has access to all the information, desires, and plans that you have. But his outputs are something you could never achieve, even if you tried with all your might for weeks on end. Now, I'm aware that this seems like a very sketchy proposition, that by doing nothing, you will solve your problems and improve your life. And I always believe that if something is too good to be true, then there's probably an underlying factor that I just can't perceive yet. And so, if you're getting that icky feeling of this just seems too good to be real, let me debunk that for you. See, being bored is hard. It's something that humans have struggled with since the dawn of time. And we have been devising activities and ways of avoiding boredom also since the dawn of time, which is probably why we are now too good at it. Simply put, we live in an environment where it's very hard to be bored. It's the first time in humanity, actually, where you can choose not to be bored, where you can escape boredom completely, whereas in previous times, that just wasn't a possibility. As a side note, I also believe that this shift in our relationship with boredom is responsible for the sort of artistic void that we are going through. If you just compare the music and movies from 20 and 30 years ago to our current landscape, it's just clear that there's something missing that we can't quite put into words, but I guess the best way to say it would be soul. And that just might be the lack of unconscious process going through it. Now, I've spent all this time trying to convince you of the value of boredom and allowing you to unleash your unconscious mind, precisely because nowadays it's very difficult to create an environment where boredom is allowed to happen, which is precisely why we are going to take the easiest path for doing this. And this is where we go back to the concept of Trojan-horsing. You see, to embrace boredom, you need to gain proof that your unconscious mind will yield you better results. But to gain this proof, you need to experience boredom, which is a form of a dilemma. And this is where Trojan-horsing will come into play. To solve this dilemma, you need to Trojan-horse boredom inside activities you already accept as valuable. And this is where we will revisit walks. Just like the Greeks offered the Trojans a massive wooden horse with their soldiers hidden inside it, we will offer our brain walks with boredom hidden inside them. I think walking is the best way to do this because you already have to walk every day anyway, and you most likely need to do more of it to improve your health. Now you just need to optimize them for boredom to begin extracting the power of your unconscious mind. And so here are some rules that you can follow in these boredom walks, let's call it. Just walk. No headphones and no looking at your phone. As we have seen, we must make room for the unconscious mind. This means shutting down any stimuli that keep your conscious mind occupied. Yes, it's going to be strange and difficult at first, but you will get used to it in no time. I'll opt for longer paths. It's easier to introduce boredom if it's associated with things you have to do. You need to get to a certain place, but you can choose to take a longer route. This by itself will induce more boredom and, more importantly, give your unconscious mind even more time to operate. The more time you can give it, the better results you will get. I think this comes as a no-brainer, however, I would be at fault for not mentioning. Simply walking and being in nature in general promotes a better mood and better thinking in general. I think this is something that every single person can relate with, and you don't need a lot of science to prove this, just go and do it. Now, this isn't really limited to walking. You can Trojan-Horse boredom into any activity that you already do. It's simply a matter of finding the things that you can leverage and are easier to modify in your own life. For me personally, that would be walking, and that is what I am currently doing. But you just have to analyze your life and understand where it is that you can most easily introduce boredom as a Trojan horse of sorts. Now, on a final and more personal note, I simply find that there's a quality of mind that can only be accessed when you are consistently being bored, and that it overall makes life a lot more enjoyable to experience. And I'm fairly confident that you will experience the same if you just give it time and enough consistency of being bored.